go ahead and get started. Pam says we have a quorum here, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Roll call.
Yes?
Tammy Freeling-Bogus.
Yes, here.
Pius Wibble.
Present.
Ed Land.
Here.
Katina Wilcher. Stephen Summers.
Here.
Jim McGuire.
Here.
Jeffrey Fegenshu. Richard Helton. Diane Marlin. Here. Dennis Roberts.
Here.
Deb Frank Finan. Patricia Avery. Patrick Brandt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any audience participation, so we'll just move along. We have a new member here today. I would like to introduce Mr. Dennis Roberts from the city of Urbana. So
I have
he,
big shoes to fill, I have a feeling. Okay.
he's replacing Mr. Smythe. So anyway, would you like to say anything? Just hi.
Well, I've actually been to this group once when I was promoting walking and bicycle path along Ordinary Creek, which is still in progress. I've worked with some of you on other ways. I'm a retired guy. I worked as a book designer at the University of Illinois, so I have a lot of graphic kind of background, and I've lived in about 5 states. And for some reason, I'm in Illinois right now. It's been 20 years, so it's probably the longest I've been anywhere. That's it, I think.
Well, we welcome you.
Thank you.
So, and I would also like to welcome Mr. Solomayo. I knew I would mess it up. I even asked him ahead of time, help me out with your name here. I do welcome him to our regional planning. He says he's dove right in, and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And I will keep working on your name. I might just resort to Deluzzo. It might be a little easier. All right, we'll go to our minutes for the April 28th meeting. I know Patrick had one correction here he told Pam about. Okay, Pam was not here.
Yes. I got to
To
fix that.
correct. Put me as not present.
Yes.
But any other additions, corrections? Motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Who did that? Pam?
Yes, I got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just wanted to let everyone know, we have our microphones here, and when you get ready to speak, just push the button and turn it green, and that means you can go ahead and speak, and the microphone will pick it up.
All right, so that motion carried approval of minutes. Now we have our consolidated financial reports. Betty?
Sure. So our fund balance for all of our 5 funds is just over $10 million. Our receivables at the end of May was about $750,000. That has grown because our preschool for all reimbursements are delayed. We're over about $560,000 at this point. Those have been approved by the Illinois State Board of Education, but they are in the comptroller's queue. We have been aggressively trying to pursue payment of those preschool for all funds, and so that's concerning because, you know, this has been a long time, and generally our receivables are no more than 90 days out, but we will continue to pursue payment on those. Pies.
Are those the only funds that are encumbered, so to speak, by the state? Okay.
Yes, as far as I understand, those are the funds that were currently owed by the state. As Betty pointed out, we have been working with our Champaign County legislators as well as directly with the comptroller's office to try to get those funds paid to us. My understanding is that the payment we received, I believe it was at the March meeting, that those funds were from September. And so they are pretty far behind in making those payments. But I did learn yesterday that we may be in queue to get some of those funds, but not all of them paid back to us until they get all this stuff on time.
The interesting thing all of this is that we have contracts, and we have new contracts for the new program year for Preschool for All. So we continue to provide services, but, they haven't paid us. So, our intent is to continue to provide services as long as we can, but we're trying every avenue we can to get full payment, so.
All right, thank you, Betty. Any other questions about the financials? All right, do I hear a motion to accept and place on file the consolidated financial reports for April and May?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries. We have a list of bills.
Sure. So again, there's nothing unusual in the list of bills. This is pretty typical activity for late spring for us. And so there's nothing unusual to report in terms of processing of bills.
All right, do I hear a motion to accept and place on, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had a question. I'd like to know a little bit about how the emergency assistant program is processed and what's RPC's role in that?
So the Emergency Assistance Program, we provide vouchers for homeless or near homeless so that we can either pay a deposit on a rental facility and/or the first month or 2 months rent so that we can get families stabilized. And they have to qualify on a number of areas but for eligibility, but we also have the family homeless shelter, which is an option, but that has been full, so.
Is that program specifically for initiating first-time renting, or is it for people who are?
Typically, however, the rules are fairly flexible. The rules try to preclude homelessness at any cost, so.
Where do people initiate a request for that kind of help?
So we have an intake coordinator. Our community services director isn't here, Lisa Benson, but we have social work intake coordinators, and usually those are referrals from outside the community. And so we provide a coordinated path for the family to achieve self-sufficiency, which includes housing, employment, and other emergency needs.
Great. And can you answer one more question? The other item that interested me was the weatherization program.
Yes.
Can you tell a little bit about that program and what its goals are?
Sure. So we get the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program funding, which is federal and state, to provide energy assistance to low-income folks. One of the things that's required when you receive LIHEAP funds is that you have a weatherization program. So our weatherization program serves owner-occupied homes, and we will go in and do specific weatherization activities. Actually, that's next on the agenda. A number of either emergency-type things, replacing furnaces, windows, doors, insulation to make homes more energy efficient, but it's supposed to be linked toward energy efficiency, and it's income eligible.
Okay, great. That's a real good catch-up for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Could I add something to that?
Yes.
And it is a highly technical program. The staff that are involved in the program go through pretty rigorous training to be certified to do that. So they do go in the home, as Betty pointed out. We'll do an assessment of the home to determine how the home can save on energy costs. Besides energy efficiency, it's also health and safety type of a program. And I think, as she pointed out, the income eligibility for that is at 150% of poverty with some of the funding. Others go up to about 200% of poverty. So it really helps families afford their utilities while they're saving on utility costs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, do I have a motion to accept and place on file the list of bills for April and May?
So moved.
Second. All right, any further discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll have Betty talk to us a little bit about our weatherization contractors for 2017, 2018.
Sure.
So as we have done in past years, we solicited bids for mechanical, architectural, and appliance contractors for our upcoming weatherization program year, which starts July 1st. Those packets were advertised as required, online in the News Gazette, and the respondents are listed on your memo from Lisa here. We had a pre-bidders conference to review the packet information. Again, I have actual bid responses here if anyone would like to see them. We've worked with most of these contractors. Sheridan's Appliance is a new one. We had in the past used Sears, but because of their financial situation, we are concerned about expedited delivery in terms of our weatherization work. The way the bids are done, so for instance, if it's a project, replace an electric furnace, there's specific state thresholds for labor and materials. So the bid packets have to adhere to those kind of state guidelines in the state catalog that comes out annually. We typically have 2 contractors for mechanical, 2 for architectural, and 1 for appliance. The reason for that is that if we have an emergency situation with a home and we need to get the work done, it's a safety or a health issue, and one contractor has multiple jobs going, we'd like to be able to use the other contractor. This gives us the flexibility to do that, but in all cases, we will choose the lower priced contractor that can get the job done in a timely, responsive manner. So we do not have an internal crew. We use contractors. Our program has been very successful this year. We were able to, complete all of the projects on time and very well within budget. So we look forward to another successful year. This is a very difficult program because the margins for the contractors are very narrow, and that's because of the state guidelines and the amount of funding that we get. So we ask for approval of these contractors based on the bids, and if anyone would like to see the actual bid documents, I'd be happy to distribute them.
So moved.
Any questions?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, and any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Pius?
So basically the same as last year, except, whoops. It's the same as last year, except that the appliances are coming from Sheridan's Appliance Center, correct? Where is Sheridan's Appliance Center?
I actually, let's see, I don't know because I didn't actually do this one. They are in Hoopeston, Illinois, and they were able to, 224 East Main in Hoopeston, and they were able to give us prices that were at or below what we had for appliances last year, and they guaranteed expedited delivery.
So we already had a motion by Jim, and Pius, did you second that?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we're with our Head Start and Early Head Start Cost of Living Adjustment funding increase. Brandy?
Good morning. The Office of Head Start recently announced a 1% cost of living adjustment increase to all Head Start programs. Our program was designated at $50,553 as the total COLA amount to increase staff salaries and fringe benefits and offsetting higher operating costs. I'm recommending an approval of the Head Start Early Head Start cost of living adjustment. Any questions?
All right, if there's no questions, Pius?
Time period for this, starting when?
This would be, is it retroactive to March 1? Retroactive to March 1, 2017.
And, okay, that's my question, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the cost of living increase?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right, Dennis makes the motion, second.
I'll second.
All right, Jim or Ed? Whichever one.
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question, sorry.
Question, if the federal government is approving the adjustment, why would it be necessary to bring it to the board?
For the Head Start performance standards, we must obtain approval from our RPC board as well as our policy council. Since we are, you all have a responsibility to oversee our operations and how the money is spent. And there are a variety of different ways that COLAs can be spent, but the main way is through wages and benefits, and also higher operating costs such as insurance.
Does that answer your question? All right, Jim?
Timing issue also. Is the bargaining completed yet?
No, it is not.
Okay.
So we have a negotiating session this evening, and at that session this evening, we are going to present our response to the union's economic proposal, which is related to wages, health insurance, and benefit time. So that continues.
All right, so we have a motion, and Jim already seconded, correct? All right, without any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a leave of absence request. Brandy, would you like to inform us on that?
Yes. On page 100 of your management packet is the leave of absence request for Ava Morrow, who is a teacher at the Rantoul Head Start Center. Since she is requesting an extended leave of absence of more than 60 days, the bargaining unit contract agreement requires approval from the RPC commissioners. I fully support Ms. Morrow's educational internship and her goals for professional development. This is a great opportunity for her to increase her leadership skills. I'm recommending approval for this leave of absence request.
Discussion, Pius?
I know nothing about the International House of Prayer University. Interesting name, but certainly anytime an employee wants to take their own time and money to make their life better, I support that.
This is the university, actually, she applied for a free internship and she received it. So I totally support her, her educational goals.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Brandy, would you please give us the management report for Head Start and Early Head Start?
Yes. Our program is gearing up for the upcoming school year, 2017-2018. Over the last 2 months, the program staff have been working on a variety of recruitment efforts for children and staff. Some of those efforts are job fairs, community events, presentations in the community, as well as billboards and brochures to the school districts and all of our community partners. Our new recruitment effort this summer will actually take place on July 4th. Our program will be walking in the Champaign County Freedom Celebration Parade, so we're very excited to have our staff and some of our families and children walk in the parade with us this year. Also in May, the Mental Health Board approved funding to support social emotional development services within our program. The total amount funded was $55,645. That is all I have at this time, but we're having a great summer and looking forward to the next school year. Thanks.
Okay, any questions for Brandy? All right, do I have a motion to accept and place on file the Head Start and Early Head Start management reports, including financials and service area reports?
So moved.
All right, Adam, second?
I'll second.
Without any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a program division update?
Okay, so just a few things. The first is, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the U.S. Department of Labor came in to assess our progress in implementing the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act regulations. I'm pleased to report that that was a very productive and meaningful monitoring review. We have not yet received a letter, but our understanding is that their initial response is that we were in full compliance and that our progress has been exemplary compared to other areas of the state. So we were pleased with that, and it was a collaborated effort. The staff did a great job in terms of producing the documents that they needed, as well as the fiscal documents. Along those same lines, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity will be here for a full week, second week of July, to again look at our workforce development program. They do another in-depth review that includes programmatic review and fiscal review, so we're preparing for that. The Summer Youth Employment Program is off to a great and robust start. The staff has been working very hard on that project. We have over 280 student participants from Unit 4, Unit 116, Muhammad, and Rantoul, so we're very excited about the number of placements and the activity of these students. We had our third leadership management training from the U of I Leadership Center on conflict management for the staff, and I thought that went well. And finally, we are beginning work on the FY18 budget, but given federal and state uncertainty with regard to the upcoming budgets, you know, it's challenging to present projections, but we will present that document to you for your review in August, so we're beginning work on that.
First of all, I wanted to thank RPC for serving as the fiscal agent for the Summer Youth Employment Program. I remember the discussion that went into that, so that really is, it's great. Do you happen to know approximately a breakdown between number of students in Champaign and Urbana?
I do. As of this morning, we have processed 124 students. 9 of those are through the Care for You program, 67 for Champaign. We're anticipating about another 20 students there for Champaign, 15 students for Rantoul, and 12 for Muhammad. And I will just expand on what Betty is saying. This is the 3rd year we've done this. I have received feedback as of last night from at least 2, actually all of the coordinators and program managers. They are very pleased with how the program went this year. This was really our year of stabilizing staff and leadership and systems, and so this year went swimmingly.
And how many for Urbana?
Urbana, 21. 21. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jim?
I heard that there might be an increase for Head Start funding from the federal government. Have you heard? And are you?
You know, the federal budget is still fairly uncertain. You know, there's lots of discussions going on in Washington. The administration's budget called for I think an $85 million increase to Head Start funding, but that's far from certain. We have a long way to go before we know exactly what's going to happen.
Personnel transactions reports that were provided in your packets reflect really nothing unusual as far as hiring, transfers, and exits. I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to those, perhaps offline, or Mr. Weeble, you have a question.
Mr. Weibel, actually. It's the same question, bus drivers.
We have been working very hard with recruitment for bus drivers. We will start some public service announcements through radio advertising this weekend. Tim is interviewing at least 2 candidates, and we have some other ideas that we are working on.
Can you say why these 2 left? I mean, better jobs or just something obviously?
Well, one of them, I would prefer to discuss that offline. Yeah. And the other one.
I guess my question is, did they go, are they driving buses for somebody else now?
One individual is driving for another, actually competitor here in town.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Betty, would you please give us our community services update for Lisa?
Actually, there's just a couple things that she had on here. We completed our LIHEAP, and she's presented data here in terms of the numbers. I'm pleased to report that we just got notification of our LIHEAP funding threshold, which came in yesterday at $2.3 million, so we're very pleased about that. The workforce development, we also got notification this week that our Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act funds from the state increased from $2 million to $2.5 million. So we're, again, very pleased about that, which means we can serve, more students, more families, more adults and children. She's also talking here about the Roma implementer, which Rebecca Woodard on her staff is completing that. That's a statewide national database that is required under the Community Services Block Grant. It's a ambitious project, but she's working on phase 3 of that portfolio and looks forward to that being completed. Our Youth Assessment Center, which is on North Randolph Street, Unit 4 is going to be using that space for their new construction, and so we're not able to continue serving our youth in that center effective March of 18. So we are aggressively looking for space to house our Youth Assessment Center. Our new coordinator is Jonathan Westfield. Many of you may know Jonathan as a former police officer, school resource officer. So Jonathan is working, coordinating, visits. We've looked at a number of options, and we continue to look at those. This, again, is a very narrow budget funded by public safety tax primarily. So our ability to pay rent is minimal, so we'll continue to look for an easily accessible location for that project. And then finally, she's indicated the centralized intake for homeless and the number of calls that we fielded. And I think that's all she's got in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Any questions? All right. Rita has a report first for our planning community.
Good morning. Last year, staff have been working on updating the Rantoul zoning ordinance and the San Joe zoning ordinance. I'm pleased to report that we have already scheduled public hearing dates for both ordinances. And between July and August, we are hoping to get approval for the text amendments and zoning map amendments for both ordinances. Then both communities will have updated, up-to-date ordinances. We also have been working on behalf of the Village of Rantoul on updating the revolving loan fund guidelines. We'll be submitting the updated document to EDA by the end of the month, and hopefully we'll get input from them regarding the updated guidelines. Staff also have been working with the University of Illinois and the City of Urbana, and with the University of Illinois and the Village of Savoy, the Champaign Township, Champaign County, the city, and the City of Champaign on the possibility of applying for ITEP grants. These are Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grants for 2 pieces in the community that are missing regarding bike and pet facilities. The piece in Urbana, and this is the most requested project in Urbana by the citizens of Urbana, is the piece between Race Street and Florida Avenue on the south side, Race Street and Lincoln Avenue on the south side of Florida Avenue, in front of the president's house. We have been working with the university in the last several years to get that piece in place, and looks like now, hopefully we'll be able to submit a grant application for that piece. The other piece that we have been working is the section on First Street between Windsor Road and Curtis Road, with the development, the residential development and commercial development on Savoy. We have received many requests for a bike and pet facility on that section of the roadway. Then we have been working with ACES about the possibility of providing an easement on the west side of the roadway to be able to apply for the grant to get a side path on that piece. We're still far away from getting the approval from the university, but I'm hopeful that we can get those two grants submitted to IDOT by the deadline. Also, last week, on Monday, June 19, RPC organized a green storm water infrastructure training for members of the RPC agencies. We worked with Parkland College. They provided the training. It was a whole day training from 9 to 4 regarding green infrastructure. We have about 15 people attending the training. There was staff from the different agencies except Mahome and Savoy because they had scheduled conflicts. But we even had a village board member from San Joe attending, which was surprising to us, but it was nice to have him attending the training. The input that we received from the people attending was great. Then we're planning on continuing organizing training for the staff. Also, we are organizing a training on bicycle safety in Champaign-Urbana. I was contacted by the IDOT Bicycle and Pedestrian Policy Engineer and Federal Highway staff from Illinois to host a training here. The training will be taught by Federal Highway staff from Washington, D.C. will be coming here on Thursday, August 31st, and Friday, September 1st. This is a completely new training, and excited that we were selected to host the training here. And the training will be provided on August 31st and September 1st at the Illinois terminal at no cost to the participants, and we are hoping to have at least 30 people attending from the different agencies in the community. Then I will start the recruiting process for this training, hopefully beginning in the next 2 weeks. I'll have a conference call with them next week to fine-tune everything. The other exciting news is that IDOT contacted me about the possibility of hosting the IDOT Fall Planning Conference. The IDOT Fall Planning Conference was planned by IDOT to be hosted at Rockford, but I don't know what happened. They called me a week ago and asked me about the possibility of helping them to organize the IDOT Fall Planning Conference here in October 11th and 12th. We'll be responsible for conducting the mobile workshops and also for recruiting some people as speakers at the conference. It is exciting because we'll be bringing about 150 people to the community for 2 days, and we'll be able to showcase what we have done in the community regarding transportation planning. Any questions?
Where are you at in discussions with the university for this side path? And do you need a letter of support from the city? What can we do to help?
We met, Bill Gray and I met with the people at Facilities and Services. They are on board regarding having the side path on Florida Avenue. They are aware that there was a fatality there several years ago. And they were working with the president and the wife of the president about getting, if I can say, the blessing, the approval for having the path in front of their house, because in the past that has been one of the problems on submitting this grant. At the same time, they have to get the approval from the, I believe, the people who manage land for the university to allow them to give this land as an easement for building the facility. They were supposed to meet this week, and they were supposed to call me and let me know the response. I'll keep you posted. But it has been moving, which is good.
Let us know if we need to do anything.
Yeah, but Bill Gray is aware. Okay.
Any other questions for Rita? All right, I need a motion to accept and place on file the 4 division updates for fiscal, human resources, Community Services, and Planning and Community Development.
So moved.
Jim makes a motion, second.
Second.
Pius, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll go ahead and have Mr. Sula Moyo.
That's it.
Yay. Give our CEO management report.
Thank you. First of all, I want to begin by thanking the board for welcoming me to this organization as well as to the community. I've been working hand in hand with Betty to manage this transition as smoothly as we can. Clearly, there are a lot of things going on within the organization as well as the community itself, and so we meet quite regularly for lengthy amounts of time. You know, even though I have been a CEO of a different organization, clearly this is a whole different operation, and so I have asked the senior staff to have some patience with me as I fully immerse myself into the operations of the organization and get a better understanding of how we're structured and what systems we have in place as an agency. So I've spent time meeting the senior staff. We've had one-on-one meetings. I'm very impressed with the high level of professionalism that has been maintained at this organization. I hope to continue to sustain it, but I'm very, very impressed with the caliber of staff that we have at the organization. Part of what I'll be doing through this transition period is, again, assessing the operations, trying to identify opportunities for how we can integrate technology in what we do to enhance our services, particularly enhancing or improving the experience of the clients that we serve throughout this organization. And then looking for other innovative practices. You know, I'm coming in with a fresh perspective, and hopefully that can lead to some innovation within the programs and services that are provided by the organization. As we've sort of touched on some of the budget issues, again, you know, this sort of gives us an opportunity to see if there are any other entrepreneurial opportunities where we can do some fee-for-service types of activities through some of the programs that we have been operating for quite a bit of time. The issues related to the budget, federal budget, as you know, most of the major programs that we operate were proposed by the administration either for significant reduction or elimination, LAHEAP being one of them, the Community Services Block Grant. But these are all programs that have had bipartisan support in Congress, and so we remain hopeful as Congress works on marking up the FY 2018 budget that they will take into account how these programs and services impact their constituents within their own congressional districts. And so we have been working with staff to prepare one-pager fact sheets that demonstrate the various demographics that are served through these various programs, but as well as the number of people that have been assisted. And so that as they look at marking up the federal budget, it's not just the numbers, but they have a sense of who in their community would be impacted if these programs are eliminated or are significantly cut as they finalize the 2018 budget. For the state budget, I'm sure everybody's paying close attention to what is not happening right now in Springfield, but just to talk about what is at stake for our agency and some of the work that I've been focusing on with senior staff. Majority, I would say, of our programs that we operate here are either federal pass-through programs. In other words, they're either federal block grants or federal funding that is passed through the state of Illinois. And in that instance, due to our Constitution, the General Assembly has to authorize spending of any public resources that are utilized in our state. And so even though Congress has already appropriated the spending of those funds, we still need the General Assembly to authorize the governor's administration to spend those funds. And so for our agency, you know, we're talking about the Community Services Block Grant, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which is LAHEAP, weatherization, workforce, which we also talked about, preschool for all, which is state funded, as well as some of the transportation funding that Rita's department utilizes. And so in the last 2 years, I think what the General Assembly has been able to do, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the work that we've done, but even though there hasn't been a major agreement on the overall state budget, what they have done is to at least appropriate those federal pass-through funds, because they really don't have much to do with the disagreement that has been going on regarding the deficit within the General Revenue Fund. And so, those are funds Congress has already appropriated, and the administration is allocated to our state to spend. And so there should be no reason why those should be held up. The other funds that we utilize here are what they call other state funds. They're not necessarily funds out of the General Revenue Fund. They're funds that are special funds. So we have state LAHEAP funding, which our regulated utilities assess surcharge on their customers to be used for purposes of assisting their low-income customers to afford or pay their utilities. And so we receive those funds here. We also have a percentage of those funds is used in our weatherization program. The same as has happened with the federal pass-through, those funds have also been appropriated the last 2 years. So 2 weeks ago, while the General Assembly was not in session, there have been a number of committee hearings that have been convened to get a sense of budget impact if there is an impasse. One of those committees, which does pretty much appropriate most of those, except for transportation, most of the programs that we receive here, wanted to get a sense of what the impact would be on individuals. And so I was able to represent this agency as far as who would be impacted if we don't have a budget by July 1st, and really pushing for them to at least consider doing that, because it would be to stop operations and to stop services. With preschool for all, we're talking about 200 children. So with all of that, what we're doing here is we're developing an agency plan that takes into account, what resources we have as an organization, and what programs and services would we need to continue to operate in the event that there isn't a budget in place. And so this is not going to be approached from a more reactionary perspective, but that we're thinking through, what our agencies, should do in terms of working with our staff and ensuring that we maintain operations to some extent. And so that plan is still evolving. We're looking at various scenarios, and hopefully by the end of this week, we should have a plan in place to deal with that. Other than that, as Betty pointed out, with the state funding that we're owed through the Illinois State Board of Education, we've communicated with various individuals to assist us in expediting those funds to be repaid to us. You have to demonstrate that there's a hardship to the organization, in 6 months or so being owed. That's quite a bit of resources. And so hopefully before the end of the week, we should hear some word in terms of where they are in processing that payment on our behalf. Other than that, we've been looking at other funding opportunities in this present environment, one of which is it would be weatherization, a weatherization program, but funded through utility resources. And we have been in conversations with Ameren. This would not be only funded to this agency, but the other agencies that are in Ameren's service territory would, once it's pretty much finalized, I think would significantly enhance weatherization operations. And so the utilities have to present a plan to the Commerce Commission by the end of this month on how they intend to utilize the resources that they have to do energy efficiency work. And so we are hopeful that we're going to be part of that initiative for a 5-year period in doing more weatherization work throughout our community. We're also talking to the Department of Human Services, and this would be a pilot project, if it's going to be feasible for our agency to be involved in that. And essentially, I think the way I understand it, would either enhance services to those clients that we assist through our workforce, but that are SNAP eligible, so that receive food stamps. And they're looking at 2 communities in the state, and Champaign is one of them. And so we're still responding to DHS. We've got some questions, but I think if it's successful, I think it would be great for our clients, that we'll be able to serve them more with enhanced services, or we'll be able to reach more clients that are SNAP eligible. And there may be some other benefits that we can look at for the agency itself. Last thing is I've spent some time just meeting folks, and as part of my transition, I was planning to come out and meet the individual board members in my first few weeks, and unfortunately, we've had a lot of things going on. I haven't had the opportunity to do that, but I will be working with staff to schedule those meetings so that I can get to know you one-on-one and what some of your needs are and expectations are of not only myself as the CEO, but of the agency as a whole. I've met with the director of the Illinois Association of Regional Councils. We actually know each other, and so I'm looking forward to working with her on the various issues that we work on through the transportation and so forth. And then we also did have, and Rita came down early morning, 2 or 3 days ago, to Springfield to meet with the Federal Highway, and this was with their finance gentleman, and we had a lot of discussion regarding the potential budget impasse and some of the mechanisms that the federal government could look into to ensure that, at least with some of our projects, that they won't be impacted if there is a budget impasse. So with that, I mean, I've, kind of dove in and really appreciate the opportunity. We haven't moved yet to the area. We're looking at houses, and hopefully before the end of next month, we should have the whole family move to the Champaign County area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Jim?
Well, thank you for that report. It sounds like you've got a great start, some great connection to the people that are here, and that's appreciated. I guess I didn't think about the impact of local funding to those same things, Youth Assessment Center and all the other programs that we have locally when state funding stops. And obviously the nursing home has had some problems because Medicaid funding hasn't flowed, even though it's federal dollars. The Community Action Board, I'm the chair of that board. Mm-hmm. And Dennis's question about how everybody gets connected to these programs, the RPC and those programs, Youth Assessment Center and everybody else, collects all these people and the families and connects them to all these programs. And they lose so much when the programs stop. If they all stop July 1st, we're going to have an issue, and I'm glad to see that being proactive. Including MCOR, which hopefully there's some, maybe you can answer a question about what's going to happen July 1st if there's no state.
We received a letter asking us to stop construction by utility.
That'll be interesting when the students come back.
We received a letter for that project, for all the projects in the area, including the improvements on 74 and 57. IDOT is working to try to get 74 ready before June 30th, but they already told us that 57 will not be ready. At the same time, I also received, we have 5 different state-funded projects. It's about $700,000 for QWATs. It's half of our budget for the next 2 years. And I also received letters last week asking me to stop any work on those projects beginning July 1st. Then there will be a lot of projects that will not be able to continue. Construction projects and planning projects. unfortunately.
I think there was word, might have been this week or last week, I can't keep my weeks together, but I think IDOT will be trying to push for a standalone appropriation so that these projects don't stop. Somebody did an economic impact analysis of what work stoppage would be, how that would cost the state as well as the various communities, and so I think what I have seen is that you have various groups of, try to piecemeal the budget. And I mean, I think this would be very critical. That report really shows you in numbers, if work stops June 30th or July 1st, what that impact would be. And so it's in the best interest of folks in Springfield to either pass a full budget or pass the most essential areas that really are not controversial so that work continues to flow. Unfortunately, I think the last 2 days, I'm sure you've heard on the news, even though they did come back for a special session, most of what has been done have been either committees of the whole. There was one yesterday on workman's comp. There's one today on property tax, freezing the property tax. Nothing yet on the budget. The Senate did pass a budget back in May, but nothing has happened in the House. So.
Diane?
Just to follow up, I've been invited to speak at the Committee of the Whole this afternoon on the property tax freeze. So expand my remarks to include other issues, including the IDOT shutdown in Urbana. It's in addition to MCOR on Green Street, it's the Lincoln Avenue construction in North Urbana and Airport Road. So those are the three major projects that would be affected in the city of Urbana.
Any further discussion or questions? All right, we have, I'm not really sure if I should put this in old business, new business, or if we have Ed's letter here of resignation.
I would say it's probably new business.
Okay. Well, let's do old business first. So is there any old business that anyone needs to bring up? And if not, then unfortunately I have a letter here from Ed Land. He is regretfully submitting his resignation as a board member from Regional Planning Commission effective June 30th. He's moving on to Virginia, and so he'll be moving in July of this year. And he says, I have thoroughly enjoyed serving as a board member on this outstanding commission. As soon as I'm settled in my new home, I hope to become involved with a similar organization. Please accept my very best wishes for a successful future, and never forget that you have a friend and ally in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Thank you. Congrats.
We will miss you.
I will miss you guys too. Yeah, I accepted a new job as executive director for the Portsmouth, Virginia Housing Authority. It's 12 miles from Virginia Beach, about 38 miles from Williamsburg, Virginia, 2 miles from Norfolk, Virginia, and I think about 65 miles from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So it was a tough decision. It put me closer to my family on the East Coast. I really have enjoyed working with the region plan. It's been a great time for me. I think I heard Dennis talk about the number of years he had moved around. I'm one of those folks who have moved around a lot from various states. But let me just say this. Of all the communities I've lived in, and I lived in 7 other states before I came here, Champaign County is the best community I ever lived in. You got a lot to be proud of. And I commend you for all the outstanding work you're doing here in Champaign County. And also, the Housing Authority will be doing the ribbon cutting in Muhammad in August for the 18 new senior units going up in Muhammad. And all of you will be getting an invitation to come to that ribbon cutting. The seniors out there are very excited about the units going in Muhammad. I know that Patrick and the village, some of the village board members asked us to see if we can find some additional land in Muhammad to build some additional senior units, because one of the fastest growing population, not only in Champaign County, but in the country, is the elderly population. And there is going to be a need for affordable senior units throughout Champaign County as well as other parts of the country. But once again, I've enjoyed my tenure on the commission, and I will stay in touch.
Thank you. We have appreciated you being on the board, and I have appreciated getting to know you too.
Thank you.
So, all right, any other new business? Well, I said, I guess I'll discuss with you, or Delitzo, as far as what we'll need to do to set up a committee to find a replacement for Ed. So we'll be looking into that, and some of you will be notified to be on that committee to do that. But with that being said, if there's no other business to discuss today, entertain, are all those in favor of adjourning? Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Have a great month. Enjoy your summer.